A young man once came to the Hasidic master Menachem Mendel of Kotsk to offer a confession. Rabbi, he said, Rabbi, I can no longer believe in God. The Rabbi asked him, why is that, my son? Rabbi, the world is filled with so much pain, so much suffering, with ugliness and evil everywhere. I cannot believe in a God who would allow such a world of brokenness. The Rebbe did not get angry, did not turn the man away. Instead, he looked deep into his eyes and asked, why do you care? The young man responded in astonishment, what do you mean, why do I care? How can a person not care? The innocent suffer, the cruel and heartless rule the world, goodness and beauty are drowned in evil. I care because it hurts me so much. I can't understand why God would let it be this way. And the Rebbe looked yet deeper into the young man's eyes, and he asked him, but why do you care? The young man felt his exasperation explode, and he cried out, someone has to care. Someone has to give witness to the brokenness and the injustice. The cry for help, the prayer for hope must have some echo in the universe. I care because I must. I have no choice. There is no other way. And now the Rebbe looked long and hard into the boy's tear-filled eyes, put his hands on the shoulders, and he whispered in tenderness, my son, if you care that much, God lives. I thought of this story this week when a young person I cherish asked me the same question. Hearing all the words of anguish and fear and sadness that we've shared this past year over Israel, over Gaza, over anti-Semitism, over America, he asked me, Rabbi, why do you care? Why do you care so much? It's a very good question. And I imagine that some of your children are asking the same. Asked in sincerity and candor, it is a very real question, and it deserves an answer. Why do I care? I care because the Jewish people is my family. Because their joy is my joy, and their pain is my pain, and their dreams are my dreams. The Jewish people are my family. A big, loud, contentious, messy family, but they're mine. This most basic element of being Jewish is a sense that we belong. We may question, disagree, argue, challenge. We may wander, even check out occasionally, but we never stop belonging. This sense of belonging is celebrated in the stories we tell, in the symbols we embrace, in the holidays we observe, in the rituals we practice. The rituals are ancient, but always evolving. You don't like gefilte fish? It's okay. We'll have chili rellenos instead. These rituals bring us joy. They bring us joy because they root us in community and history. They provide a language for sharing the happiest moments of life and a structure for enduring the tragedies we experienced. When my mom died, I was uplifted by the people who came to Shiva. The people who came to say Amen to my Kaddish, to share stories and hugs and tears and laughter and, yes, coffee cake. The Talmud teaches, Kol Yisrael arevim ze bazeh. All Israel are responsible for one another. Responsibility. Not just empathy, not just concern, responsibility. Judaism is not a religion of private salvation. It is a commitment to collective destiny. We are a religion of we. Our holiest words are spoken in the plural. Even the confession of sins that we recite tonight is said in the plural because we believe that human life is meant to be lived together in community, that belonging is an essential necessity of human being. In community, we are known, we are seen, our voice is heard, we count, we matter. The novelist Henry James famously called America a hotel culture. A hotel is a place where we sleep and eat but don't set down roots. We don't fully unpack. We take no responsibility. In a hotel, we never encounter our neighbors. We don't care who lives next door or across the hall. Their affairs, their needs, their dreams are none of our business. The staff may be friendly and helpful, but only if we tip. So it is with America, James concluded. America is a society of individualists seeking freedom from the claims and constraints of others. That turns out to be a very, very lonely way to live. Community may be difficult. Community may be frustrating, but community is a necessity. We belong. My sense of belonging includes a deep attachment to Israel. We are family, and family is always complicated. So Israel is complicated. We can love, critique, argue, pray, cry over Israel. Complexity isn't betrayal, it is commitment. There is a prayer we recite for Israel. In that prayer, we call Israel Reshit Smichat Gulatenu, the first flowering of our redemption. For a people as close to extinction as we were, to return to life, to build a state, to rescue refugees from the four corners of the world, to sing an anthem, Hatikva, of hope, is a miracle in our eyes. Israel is an expression of our collective redemption. But Israel is incomplete, sometimes painfully so, unfinished, evolving, searching for its identity. To engage Israel is to join in that process, in that conversation, to hold both the Israel that is and the Israel that might yet be. Why do I care? Because I belong, because I'm connected to community, to history, to my people, and I'm connected to a profound moral truth. My identity is not just an expression of ethnic pride. We are keepers of a truth, a radical, revolutionary truth. Consider the world in which our people were born. In ancient Mesopotamia, kings were seen as semi-divine, their subjects little more than expendable laborers. In Egypt, Pharaoh was God incarnate, and people existed to serve his glory. The magnificent cities and monuments were built on the backs of countless slaves. In such a world, human life was trivial. It was worthless. Then came a voice like no other, and it said, "Let us make the human being in our image after our likeness." That verse, just a handful of words, shattered the hierarchies of the ancient world. Not just kings or nobles, but every human being, rich or poor, male or female, citizen or stranger, bears the image of God. And from this conviction flows everything: the sanctity of life, the uniqueness of each human person, the equality of dignity, the moral limits of power. Every human life is infinitely precious. A life cannot be measured in wealth or power. Even the most vulnerable are protected. The widow, the orphan, the stranger, those without voice or influence become a litmus test of a civilization. Not the monuments we build, not the might of our armies, not the wealth of our cities, but the plight of the poor, the dispossessed, the outcast, because no one is expendable, disposable. No one is a means to an end. The Talmud taught that God created just one human being in Genesis to teach that one who destroys a life, it is as if they destroy the entire world, and one who saves a life, it is as if they saved an entire world. But here is the paradox. Judaism does not speak of rights. It speaks of responsibilities. The dignity of the human person is not given so that we may demand from others, but that so we may give to others. The image of God in us allows us to see the image of God in the other. So in truth, there is no other. The simplistic binaries into which we so easily fall, they're erased. Us, them, our people, those people. citizens, aliens, we are all one. When you see the face of another, we see the face of God. So the Torah commands, you shall love the other as yourself, because the other is yourself. We are entrusted to keep this truth. We're entrusted to teach it, to enact it, to make it real. This truth inspires a great dream, a dream of a world embracing, respecting, celebrating the preciousness and uniqueness of every human being. And this dream has impelled us to persist through all the dark centuries of our persecution. What kind of universe would you have to imagine for this dream to make any sense? A universe created by a God who cares. This is Jewish faith. Our commitment to human life is not merely a cultural construct or a personal intuition or a personal opinion. It reflects an objective moral order. It is the moral universe we inhabit. We care because God cares. God cares. When Moses in the desert demands of God, Hareini et kvodecha, show me who you are. Tell me of your being. God doesn't offer metaphysics or cosmology or ontology. God answers, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed ve'emet. I am of love, of compassion, of forgiveness, of truth. We discover this God not by gazing into the heavens or by contemplating metaphysics. We discover this God through our history. On the far side of the Red Sea, we were slaves. Our parents were slaves. Their parents were slaves. Their parents were slaves. And we had no hope. Our children were destined to be slaves. And suddenly this Moses shows up and told us, pack your things, we're leaving. Don't even order a pizza. You don't have time. We're leaving. And so we ran following that Moses into the desert, following his vision of freedom. And when we crossed the sea, we realized that Pharaoh wasn't chasing us anymore. The Torah says at that point, "Vayaminu b'Adonai u'b'Moshe avdo." We believed in God and we trusted Moses. That's the real miracle. More than the splitting of the sea, the opening of the heart. After generations of the most brutal oppression, what did it take to step in the sea? To step forward into freedom, into an uncertain tomorrow. A belief in a God who stands on the side of freedom, a perception of a moral order that affirms human dignity, a vision of the world as it is not necessarily, not inevitably, not destined to be the world that must be. And even when history betrayed us, this faith in a moral order carried us. Viktor Frankl was a young psychiatrist in Vienna, completing the research for his doctorate the very week the Nazis began to evacuate Viennese Jews to Auschwitz. He tells the story that as the Nazis came house to house down his street, he managed to sew the only copy of his dissertation research into the lining of his coat, hoping that he could carry it with him wherever they would take him. And when the Nazis gathered all the Jews of the neighborhood into the square, a Nazi soldier ordered him to remove his coat. He refused. So the Nazi clubbed him with the butt of his rifle, tore off the coat, and threw it onto a huge pile in the middle of the square. And when Frankl began to weep, the Nazi laughed, "Stupid Jew who loves his coat more than life." And in his derision, he went and he took off just one random coat from this pile and threw it at Frankl. All of his work was gone. All of his research had disappeared, lost with the coat. And he sat on the train weeping, sat on the train huddled in the coat that the Nazi had given him. And then he felt something in the pocket of the coat. He felt something there. So reaching into the pocket of the coat, he removed a scrap of paper. It was a page torn from a prayer book containing the words of Shema Yisrael, torn from a siddur by a Jew who had been torn from his life and torn from his home and torn from his hope. Frankel wrote, "How else could I interpret this coincidence than as a challenge to live?" That page stayed with him in his pocket all the days and months and years he survived in Nazi captivity, as a testimony to the power of faith in the unconditional meaning of existence and the sanctity of human life. We believe in a God who cares. There's a beautiful old story of a great mystic who spent years and years and years in meditation and prayer seeking to rise upward toward the throne of God. And then late one afternoon, as the holy mystic was consumed in deepest meditation, his daughter had to leave the house for a few moments, and she left the baby sleeping in the other room in the crib. This mystic, his meditation was so powerful, he rose higher and higher into the celestial realm until finally, after so many years of seeking, he reached ecstasy and stood in the pure light of the divine presence. And just then, the baby woke up and started to cry. And the mystic, he was torn. Should he stay and absorb the divine radiance, or return to the ordinary world and care for the child? He sighed. He turned to God and just said, and God said, he sighed and threw his hands up, and he turned around and carried the crying child and comforted him. And God smiled, and God blessed him. God, who cares, calls upon us to care, calls upon us to be partners in the process of repairing and healing the world. To be a Jew is to be summoned. A Jew refuses to leave redemption to heaven. The responsibility is handed down to us. God calls us not as servants, obsequious and submissive, but as active, responsible partners. To be a partner is to have dignity. It is to be seen, to be addressed, to be needed. We believe in God, yes, but more importantly, God believes in us. God needs us. In all our flawed and imperfect humanity, God needs us. In the Torah, God did not wait for a people of saints, philosophers, or mystics. God sought out a community of slaves, broken in spirit and frightened by freedom, and entered into covenant with them. God's presence in the world is mediated not by human grandeur or purity or even piety, but by the fragile, unfinished efforts of an ordinary people to live in fidelity with God's dreams. This shifts the axis of religion away from escape into the eternal, the otherworldly, toward responsibility within history. Religion often seeks transcendence by withdrawing from the messiness of human life. Judaism insists the opposite. Judaism insists that holiness is discovered precisely in the thick of it, in the marketplace, in the streets, in the halls of government, in the family, in the struggle to build a just society. But this invests us. This invests our choices with an unbearable gravity. If God cares, then our actions matter. If God cares, then our choices matter. If God cares, then our values matter. Our failures are not simply private missteps, but disappointments to God's hopes and dreams. That's why today the confession again and again and again, we'll ask God for forgiveness because our shortcomings hurt not only us, They affect God. Why? Why such an enormous burden of responsibility? Because in this world, we are the hands of God. We are the eyes and the ears of God. That same Rebbe, Menachem Mendel of Kotsk, was once asked, Rebbe, where in the world is God? Where in this world is God? And he answered, God is wherever we let God in. And so in a moment, we're going to finish this service with a prayer that begins with one word, Aleinu. Aleinu, because Aleinu means it is up to us. It is up to us, not someone else, not some anonymous they, not government, not the media, not institutions, not even the synagogue, and not heaven. It is up to us, Aleinu. It is up to us to heal and to help, to teach, to provide, to protect, to sustain, to engage, and to care. Aleinu. It's up to us. My favorite teaching of the ancient rabbis. They asked this question. Suppose you're planting a tree, and someone comes running by and says, Messiah has come. Redemption is here. Messiah has come. Redemption is here. What do you do? And the rabbis answered, finish planting the tree. Then go see if it's true. Aleinu, litaken olam b'malchut Shaddai. It is up to us to repair the world in the presence of God. Bayom hahu, and on that day, God shall be one, and the world shall be one. We shall be one, at peace, whole, healed, and happy. May we get just a little closer this coming year, because, dear God, we really, really, really care. We really do. Amen. Please rise together. Page 478.
Aleinu l'shabeach Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל העולם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שבולות השמיים ויוסר הארץ המשך.